Microsoft tech war reignites for a new era. Subtitle reads is that a battle over App Store rules has renewed tensions between the rivals and could overshadow the rise of augmented and virtual reality applications. Um, yeah. I mean, the idea that Microsoft has been building out their app store for a while, man. Trying to really make it something that's diverse enough because they offer so many different offerings. Like there's so many ways to get applications installed on Windows that they lock down now. Like you can't like some things you like in order to install some old apps that you used to just be able to double click and install, you got to kind of go through some loops to be able to install those apps anymore because they want you to install them through their app stores. And they want to sort of control the funnel. It's in a way they want to like funnel you through installing applications and stuff. Just making it a free fall where you can just basically get whatever app you want and install it however you want. And that's
you click add the cart and then it just download all of them.
yeah. Like they want you to really like go through the motions through the app store, similar to Apple's app store, because they seen how powerful it is and how much control you get over it. It lets you because users, they end up installing malware on their own computers and they don't really know that it's on there. They get hacked and all this stuff. This way, if it's through a store, if it's through a gateway, everything's controlled, all the software is scanned and tested and stuff like that. But also, this article talks about how that has to do with like augmented reality and virtual reality applications. Augmented reality applications really aren't here the way that they keep talking about. Like
they're not.
The biggest augmented reality applications that get used right now is Instagram and Snapchat and fucking TikTok. Like that's the biggest, closest resemblance of augmented reality where somebody's getting glammed up.
Yeah.
And it scans their face. And then you got to have a certain type of phone for those things to even be possible. Like you got to have like an iPhone that can 3D scan your face to put a mask on it the way that it should be laid out. Like augmented reality really isn't there as much as it should be. People occasionally scanning small things like, barcodes on bottles or something like that, but they not really
your QR joint or something like that.
but augmented reality, the way that they hope and they always dream about with glasses, and you could just literally see things, a heads up display, a HUD on the screen. Like none of that stuff is really there. Virtual reality is there, but it's not big. Like we just got finished talking about Oculus. Right. Oculus is probably the biggest thing that's going, and that's still like a niche market. So like It's not really where anything is. So like I don't really get an understanding of how the augmented reality portion could be a big deal. Virtual reality, potentially, if you're talking about the idea of putting stores in virtual reality, I could see that being a thing down the line where you can walk through a virtual store and order stuff or buy stuff through like a virtual GameStop. You go to a virtual mall.
Yeah.
You go to a virtual mall, go to a virtual GameStop and virtually buy something.
That goes to like what I was saying before, that whole like that 10% margin of like new stuff. I feel like augmented reality is definitely beyond like 20%. Because you're thinking about the only thing that we had, I think that there was an app that dips into the capabilities and like what augmented reality has to offer was, remember, Pokemon Go.
You
know what I mean? And it was dope for what it was, but for augmented reality, it really comes down to its uses and how useful it is to society at this point. Like if society itself is not at a place where augmented reality is something that advances their lifestyle, right? Like some of their base level needs or provides them an experience that they can't get outside of that. Like if it doesn't bring that, it's going to struggle when it comes to it coming to market and it being like something viable to something that people use. So it's just going to really, I think that how I've always looked at it is that augmented AR is just a step up from VR, and until VR becomes something where, like you said, you have the thing, you walk through the store, order something, it be at the house or whatever, like it has its uses beyond just it being something cool. Then AR being here is like, it sounds very, when I think of that, I think of like in Back to the Future 3 when they was talking about, if you remember in Back to the Future 3 how he was talking about people was going to dress in the 2000s and floating on
Yeah,
boards and
yeah,
you know
yeah, yeah,
everybody was
yeah,
going crazy. And it's like we here and it's like it don't look like that, man.
yeah.
But
Right,
it's just
right.
like a lot of times with AR, it's like I think it's metaphorically people see it through that lens of like, oh, it's like this thing of and it's gonna be crazy and we gotta use this and it's like really when it by the time it actually gets here, it's probably not even going to be all of how people are looking at it today. You know, when it
Yeah.
becomes prevalent.
I
You
mean,
know?
we have some moments where we are ahead of Back to the Future in some ways. You know, like cell phones and stuff like that. We got cell phones, even the hoverboard. See, we had those movies that we would define like physics and shit like that. Like we gonna make stuff that fly. Like we barely can get like drones to fly properly without somebody controlling it for real. Like, but we got drones. I mean, so like. They exist. Yeah, I mean, so we got some things like the camera drone that took a picture of Biff when he crashed into the library. Yeah, I mean, that drone exists. You know, you gotta have a camera drone fly down, take a high picture of or whatever. Yeah, I mean, that can happen. Yeah. I mean, but like that's not. It's a practical. We use practical technology in our future. Yeah, I mean, so
because like that's the thing. Like, what average person needs that? Like, it's not. It's not. No one needs that.
We got hoverboards, but they got wheels because people. It's hard enough for people to drive, let alone fly. You know what I mean, so we don't need them flying on things because they barely can drive. So we don't need that yet. I mean, they even made They even made a hoverboard, but that thing costs like a couple $1,000s to even make. So, and it only worked under the laws of physics because we ain't break the laws of physics. So, you know,
at least
some things we ain't.
Not that we know publicly.
We ain't gonna break the laws of physics. We just gonna kill a lot of people trying, man. That's the thing. We gonna do some crazy stuff, trying to go in a couple black holes, and then realize, oh yeah, you know, people just can't go into black holes, man. That's just
it's not a good thing.
After the third flight of people died, we were like, you know,
we try something different.
let's try not to go in black holes anymore. We should have sent the robots instead, but it is what it is. But yeah, man, Microsoft, Apple, they still got the same era of war going on. Ain't much new going on there. It's always the same war. I say the main difference between them that's probably going on is like now Microsoft has realized in a lot of ways Apple was right when it came to having an ecosystem where you kind of got to lock things down in a structured format. Microsoft say that they open technology in a way, and in a lot of ways they're open to developers, but they still closed when it comes to like, you know,
not
access.
The person.
It's still a closed system, and that works for, you know, because a lot of people need to be locked down from themselves. A lot of people just need to. They can't be allowed to do certain things because they don't know no better. So
it's just I think right now it's just that this goes right into the tech war stuff, and I think that really when it comes to the tech war, Apple and Microsoft, like they said, you know, they back at it again. Reignites it. Is that I think they are the main players in this. You know, everybody else like with Google, if you want to use them as like, you know, they do their thing with search.
Yeah, they got the Play Store. They got the Play Store.
But still, like, you know, the company itself, its business model is based on, you know, advertisement, and then, you know, in it, you know, data, you know, collecting data, right? Then you got Amazon, where of course they dope when it comes to, you know, the AWS, right? But then they have their hands in different things. They primarily retail. When it comes to Apple and Microsoft, they do retail, but it's primarily for technology. So it's just. I think
they're the deepest two technology companies. Like they just stay with core technology out of a lot of people, out of a lot of companies.
And it's going to. I think honestly, it's going to remain like that. I don't think within the next 10 years, right? Because we got Google, they probably going to be getting slapped within the next 5 years because of all of the, you know, regulations coming with, you know, collecting data, right? Then Amazon, I feel like they are in a comfortable position because they don't necessarily have to depend on technology. They're the retail for, right? But and they offer some things on the side. So I don't think their business model is necessarily, they're not going to pivot all the way into just being all technology. I don't think that would be good for them. So it's going to be Apple and Microsoft. And I think that where things are at is just a lot of things even we talked about so far within the podcast. I think it's going to come down to it's probably going to have to be some acquisitions. It's going to have to be some innovation that's going on. That as far as who comes out on top, and really if this whole tech war thing and them going at it, if it's even profitable for the people. Right. I know they gonna make money regardless, but as far as how it affects those who use the technology, it just comes down to what the companies decide to do or what they decide on, would be good, honestly, for people. What will be the next best thing for a person when it comes to the tech world.